Hello, Sunbeard here. Today we're going to talk about minecart loaders and one specific design that is survival friendly, very reliable, a little bit slower than some, but it could never get clogged no matter how many items or what kind you're putting in it. If you just want to skip ahead to the tutorial, you can click the link up on my right. Now, if you're not familiar with what a minecart loader is, it's something that takes items from a chest or a hopper and it deposits them into a minecart, either a chest minecart or a hopper minecart, and it sends it off to, well, somewhere. There's many different designs for them, and they have different trade-offs. Either they'll have carts run continuously, they may only send a few items at a time, and they have different complexities. Now this one over here is one of the more fancy designs, and there's more compact ways to do this that I've seen, but this is the version I ended up with. And what it does, if an empty minecart comes over here, it just stays at the station until there's something to load. And it has two things that make it, I guess, a little bit fancier. If this hopper is empty, the minecart will stay here. As soon as there's something in the hopper, it starts filling the cart. And when that hopper finally runs empty, it'll send it. And it has another feature. It tries to determine whether the minecart is full and send it only when the minecart is full or this hopper is empty. So, the way it does that, it has this redstone signal. We subtract it to 14. We put it into a comparator that's set into subtraction mode. So when this has 15, it subtracts 14 and it gets 1. If this has 13, it subtracts 14. It's less than 0, so there's no redstone signal. So that's how that works. And yeah, it works pretty well. So say we take a cart. It has a couple of items in it. There's nothing in the hopper, so it's just going to come back. See? Alright, now if we put a few more items in here, it's going to fill up this cart, and then it'll send it back without putting any more items into it, but it's not going to get stuck over there either. Now if we were to take all the items out, which is a lot of items in it, this is a really slow way to do this, send it back, it's empty, it's going to start filling it up. Ta-da! So we take all the items out of there, and all the items out of here. We'll do it this way. And send it back, and it will stay at the station. So it works pretty well. Unfortunately, there is a flaw with this design, and it has to do with comparators, and I can illustrate it briefly. So say we have a piece of redstone in this cart. And maybe we mean to put a redstone with it. And there it goes. Alright, we'll do this differently. Say we have a bunch of swords, and then we're going to have another piece of redstone. Alright, so that's the first one. That's enough to fill up the cart. One piece of redstone. Is right there. And we'll take one of those out so that the cart will only be full with iron swords and a piece of redstone. So we send it back. So it's going to start loading it up. But once it gets to the redstone, it's just going to stay here. Because every stack... No, the hopper has to be full. Whoops. Whoops. Alright, we'll send it back and then it will stay there. So that's full. It's not going to do anything, because it has this weird case where these are all full, but this stack could get 63 more items. So the way the comparator works, it only puts out a redstone signal of 14. 14 minus 14 is 0. But we can't put anything in the cart that's in this hopper. So if this was full of swords, well, it would be stuck forever, because it's never going to get a piece of redstone in there unless we fiddle with it. Yeah, not a good problem to have if you want to be moving a lot of items. So let's go over a few things with how comparators work with container minecarts. So we've got these chest minecarts here on detector rails, and no surprise, an empty one gives no signal. So we put a couple items in there, we get more signal. That's pretty much what you would expect. Here we have a chest full of swords. They each count as one stack. And here we have full stacks of redstone. And they give a redstone level 15. No surprises. Now here we have a chest that has items in every slot, but this stack and this stack aren't full. And besides the fact that this hopper wouldn't actually feed a minecart in this configuration, but let's pretend it does. If you have only chicken in here, there's no feathers to put in here. So these two stacks will never get full. Which stinks because we only have a redstone level 14, which means the fancy little doodad over there, it's never going to work and that cart's going to be stuck there forever. How can we fix it? Well, we could take our lower redstone signal and send less items, and that's probably what I would do, except if we have enough items, it turns out the worst case scenario is you could have 27 different items in here, one item in each stack, and all the slots full, and get a redstone level 1. So unless you want to take it at level 1, it won't be perfectly reliable in every case. And if you take it at level 1, it's kind of pointless. So, yeah, that doesn't work. Now that I have coffee through the magic of video editing, let's get to work on solving this dilemma. Now we know that comparators never going to tell us what we want, so it's gone. I don't like it anymore. It's pretty good for telling me when a cart's empty, or if a cart's not here, so maybe we will keep it. Okay, you're not that useless. So, okay, we will keep the comparator, but we're not going to use it to figure out the cart's full. Now, I really can't think of a way to directly detect if the cart is full. But, you know what? The hopper knows if it's full or not. And that's really what we want to know, is if the hopper can put any items in that cart. So if there's no cart here, it won't put any items over there. If there is a cart there, it's only going to put items in there if it has items that can fit in there. Makes a lot of sense. But how on earth are we going to figure out how to do that? Well, I kind of already figured it out, so it's not going to be nearly as impressive, but I'll pretend like I did just now. Hehehe. So first thing is, let's slap a comparator on this, so we could tell if there's an item in here. But if we get a bunch of items, I don't think that's going to make this any easier, so let's figure out a way so that we're only dealing with one item at a time. So the easiest way is to lock that hopper when this one has an item in it. And then when it puts an item in this cart, we'll unlock that hopper and get a new item. This may be useful. So, put a block there, put a torch there. That's negated. Well, if we have an item we want to lock it, we don't want it negated. So we're going to put a block there. Blocks across here. And some redstone above. And assuming I remember how hoppers lock, that should lock it. So I think if we put an item in here, it will be pulled out. Yes. So if we put a hopper above it, then it should stay there. And that happens because hoppers have both. They're pushing and they're pulling at the same time. So even though this one's locked, it's not pushing. this one's pulling items out of it. You know what? Hoppers are weird. I don't understand them. So we got this. It does that. What happens if we put a bunch of items in it? What happened to the item I had? So, ta-da! We have 64 items. Put them in there. Then it doesn't do anything. Because I'm still using the negated signal. So we put a torch there. Ho! Now it's working. So we got some sort of hopper clock thing that clocks when stuff is going through here. So I'm going to call it the stuff clock. Yeah, that's it. The stuff clock. So items going through here. We got this thing turning on and off. That seems like that could be useful somehow. But I don't know exactly how you figure out if these are running just from that clock going. Well, I lied. I actually do know how. We can use signal lengtheners. Signal lengtheners? Is that the right word? Sure, it makes sense. So, if we put repeaters here, and it stopped. So, okay. If it's at rest, they'll be different. So if there's no items in here, that left one's going to be on. There is an item in this hopper. Okay, bad example. If there is an item in that hopper, the right one's going to be on. And luckily I can put a bunch in there and it kind of stops it. So there's two different states. Those are both states that we want to send the cart going. Because if that hopper's empty, well, the cart doesn't need to stay here. If the hopper has an item sitting in it, then that means there's nothing it can put an item to. So either there's no cart there or the cart's full. Either case, we don't need to keep it. So that's all we're going to worry about at this point. So how do we turn these into something that we could put through some sort of logic gate and get a useful output to control the piston that holds the cart or releases it? Well, if we use another pulse lengthener set to 4 ticks, a neat thing happens. Put some redstone up here, and whoa, it's not working. It's not working right. Something weird's going on. Well, after about 10 minutes of frustration, I finally figured out what the problem is. You need to put chests there. Otherwise, it messes up the timing with this device, and yeah, that was the only problem. So, if you put a chest there, you can put hoppers up above it all you want. But there needs to be a chest as a buffer so that you don't get weird hopper things. So the moral of the story is, hoppers are weird and never trust them. They'll stab you in the back when you least expect it. Okay, so let's build this again. Got a comparator. Yeah, it's going to feed to this block. Put that redstone torch. Put a block above it. Another redstone torch. And a little redstone to finish it off. And now you have a stuff clock. So put just minecart over here. And we'll put some items in here. Now it's clocking. Now we can use our little pulse lengtheners. Oh, much more predictable. And look, now they stay on when they're alternating. So if we get rid of the items, it stops, and it stops in one of its 2 rest states. So, this is cool, because the only time these are both on is when it's running. So we can actually just use an AND gate to get an output that turns on when that clock's running. I guess we don't need that block. And wow, there we go. So it's off, it's at rest. There's no items in that one. If there were items in this, it's not there would only be one in there. That would mean that the cart's full. So empty, none in here, one sitting in there, cart full. So two different outcomes that end up being the same. So we leave it on continuously. Now it has this on, which is our loading signal. So this is very useful. So now, if we build our little, what do you call it? Thing that uses blocks and moves them, and we'll call it the minecart retainer? Sure. So you're going to have a sticky piston, some sort of block. You could use glass or whatever. It still works the same. And put a block there. And we need to make a place to get the signal across. So we'll do it this way. So this can power it across the void. And comes over here. So as long as it's at rest, this thing will retract. There we go. So it would be like this. Alright. Now for putting items in there. And this isn't going to work right, but we'll do it anyways. It would hold the cart. But as you can see, it's not instantaneous. So we need to do a little more fendangling to get this thing working. So let's extend this track a little bit. Maybe not like that. Maybe like that. Put a block there so we can bounce it back. These are fancy redstone blocks. Yeah, a couple regular, and I broke that, but we could fix that pretty easily. Then that'll work. So I broke my detector rail. It's not sloped anymore. So now I have to destroy a hopper, do that, get rid of it, put a block here, get another hopper, feed it into that block, and okay, now it's fixed. So there's a couple things with these minecart retainers that are nice. And it doesn't need to be fed in from the side. You could feed it in from the top. It's really just consistent with a block here. I think I've also seen designs that use fence posts and put it in the block where the minecart is, which maybe we'll try that right now. Might as well. Nah, fence gate. Fence post. Where's the fence post? There's a fence post. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I guess that works, but I think a block works just as well. So let's go with that. So obviously it's not working right. Something's wrong. We'll put some blocks in there. Yeah, it's just gonna keep doing that until we fix it. So let's stop that because that's kind of annoying. So we've got this thing. It can do stuff, but we still need to figure out a way that this will be closed when there's not a minecart here or there's an empty minecart. So that comparator we were going to throw away, yeah, we're actually going to use it. So why is the day... I thought I turned off daylight cycle. Do daylight cycle false. Time set 6,000. I don't understand. It is 1,200? 12,000? Is that dusk or dawn? Wait, I know how to figure this out. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. So, we'll just do this in the dark because apparently I don't understand how to put commands in the game. But, hey, you know what? I marginally know how to do redstone, so let's go with that. Alright, so we got this thing going, and we'll put that thing out of its misery. So, we can detect if a cart's empty, or actually if there's no cart here, it'll do the same thing. So, we'll put it through a little bit of delay. And its default position, or default value, will be on. Yes. So we're going to put it into a block so we can negate it. That's going to power this little redstone. And these are going to share the same thing. So we actually have an OR gate, I guess. Yes, an OR gate up here. So if this is on, it means that there is a cart here that has at least one item in it. So if this redstone torch is off, that means there's either no cart there or it's empty. So what we're going to do is, now since its default position is to keep the minecart. If we send a minecart, it goes right through that block, but it can't come back through. So as long as that cart's empty, it's going to keep it there. Now what we're going to do is if we put an item in here, it's on enough a delay that this clock can start going before it tries to tell the piston to retract. And since that's an OR gate, it overrides it. So if we put one item in here, it's going to do that because we don't have anything in the hopper. Okay. So if we have something up here, we do that. Now, when the cart comes in and it's empty, or even if it has one item in it, it's not immediately going to be thrown away. So do that. Just enough delay to hold it. And I really mean just enough delay, because if we do something like this, there's one redstone. But I guess you can do less. So yeah, whatever works. How many can we do? 2? Now I want to know. Does that do the same thing? Huh. Well, how about that? How about 1? Okay, so you need at least 4 ticks, apparently. At least 1, 2, 3, 4. Need at least 5 ticks, turns out. We double check that. It looked like it did a weird glitch, so I'm just going to play it safe and put it at whatever that is. Yeah, arithmetic. I can't do arithmetic in my head very well, obviously, because it's definitely less than 10 and I still can't add it together. So, okay, so we got something that's working. Then it's actually a little less complicated than what I had before. That colorful mess there. Unfortunately, it is much larger. But, you know, there's quite a bit of empty space. We could probably rearrange it and make it take up a tiny bit less space, but pretty much be the same. So, now we built this, yeah, you basically know how it works now. Yeah, you could probably rebuild it from that. But now we're going to do a full-fledged tutorial. So what you're going to need is a chest or trap chest, 2 hoppers, 1 detector rail, and a second temporary rail just to make it sloped, a comparator, and another comparator, 6 redstone torches, 6 redstone repeaters, 8 redstones, a sticky piston, and a bunch of blocks of your choosing. Most of them need to be solid blocks though. So first thing you're going to do is put a block there. Put the rail there. Do-do-do-do. Now you got a slope detector rail. Pretty snazzy. Put a block there. Pretend like it's a minecart. And we're going to feed a hopper into that. Then we're going to feed a hopper into the hopper. And we'll put a chest on top so that I don't mess it up and get confused. So, next we want to put a block there so this comparator has somewhere to sit on. Another block. Don't need that one anymore. Put a torch. Put a block above it. Another torch. Blocks across. And redstone desk. So now the clock is finished. Now let's do the minecart retainer. So we're going to put comparator here. 2 repeaters. And then, if I remember right, it was 4. And then 6? See, I think you need 6 ticks minimum to make this work correctly. Put a block there. Put a torch. Another block. Not gonna negate it. And black there. Torch. Not a torch. Redstone. Sticky piston. And whatever block you want there. Alright. So the minecart retainer is working. Now we need our fancy clock running detector. I think I've come up with a new name for it every time. So 2 1-tick repeaters and 2 4-tick repeaters. So those are our pulse lengtheners. And they're going to feed into those 2 blocks. And we're going to negate them so that we can make a fancy pants and gate. And put the final torch over here. That part's done. And we just need to connect it to our retainer. No, I definitely said 8 ticks. So 4 ticks here, 4 ticks here. I don't know why you guys thought 6 ticks, but you apparently weren't paying attention. So, over here, we got a fancy color-coded version of what we made just across kitty corner of all these things. So, green section, we have the minecart retention mechanism. Yeah, it's a piston that, holds the minecart or leaves it. So, it's really not too complicated, and if you really wanted to, you could make a minecart loader just using the green section. It would only probably carry about 5 items, but it would work, and it's pretty straightforward. You wouldn't even need a comparator. Just put a repeater there. So that's an option for sure. Now the purple section. That is the stuff clock. Yeah, it tick-tocks, and that's really all it does. Yellow section. It is the clock status detector. Clock status detector. We'll call it an oscillation sensor. Yes, an oscillation sensor. So if this is oscillating between on and off, it'll be on. If it's not, it'll be off. So that's really all there is to that design. As I mentioned earlier, you could make it a little bit more compact. Basically take 2 blocks in this dimension and add 1 in this dimension. Takes up the same height space as far as a cubic space would go. And it uses, I don't know, probably 10 less cubic blocks than this one. But maybe this layout just fits better in your build. So it's an option. I'm not going to explain how to build it. And that's how you make a reliable, low-maintenance automatic minecart loader. And yeah, there'll be more things to come. No, you didn't see anything. You're crazy. There is absolutely nothing behind me. Don't worry about it. Yeah, just don't worry about it.